The sun rose gently over the hills of Minas Gerais, Brazil, brushing the landscape with a soft, golden glow. It touched the tops of the jabuticaba trees, shimmered faintly on the dew-covered grass, and slipped through the slats of João Antonio's window just as the rooster began its morning call. At 35, João had grown deeply accustomed to the quiet rhythm of life on his small farm. The land modest, weathered, familiar, had once belonged to his father and still carried traces of his mother's touch in the fruit trees she had planted long ago. He woke slowly, as always, stretching in the wooden bed he had built with his own hands. The straw hat hanging nearby was worn but dependable like everything in Joan's world. He reached for it without thinking and made his way to the kitchen, where the aroma of strong, dark coffee greeted him. In the stillness of the morning, he stood by the window, holding the warm cup between his hands, when something caught his eye, something out of place. Across the field, the neighboring property, long overtaken by silence and time, seemed suddenly alive. The house, quiet since old Edmund's passing 3 years earlier, now had company. A sleek, unfamiliar car sat parked in front of the weathered structure. The shutters still hung crooked, and the paint still peeled, but something had shifted. João watched for a moment longer, then set down his cup, gathered his tools, and stepped outside. He was scattering grain for the chickens when a metallic clang rang out from the other side of the fence, followed by a soft exclamation, sharp with frustration. He paused, listening. Then, curious, he wandered toward the property line. On the far side of the fence, a young woman was crouched beside the gate, struggling with rusted hinges and a stubborn latch. Her blouse, white and delicate, was streaked with orange stains. Her jeans, cleaned not long ago, were now speckled with red earth. Her shoes, clearly chosen for a different life, sank unevenly into the soil. Strands of hair had escaped her ponytail, clinging to her cheeks in the growing warmth. Joan watched for a quiet moment, something like amusement flickering gently in his eyes as she winced, rubbing her thumb. Then, with a softness that matched the morning, he spoke. "Bom dia, vizinha," he said. "It seems that gate isn't going down without a fight." Startled, the woman looked up. Her green eyes clear but weary met his. There was something behind them. Not fear, but a kind of guardedness, as if she wasn't sure whether she belonged here. Hello. I'm sorry for the noise," she said quickly, brushing her hair behind one ear. "And for the language. I'm Mariana. I just got here. This place belonged to my great-uncle." Her voice softened as she glanced at the house, then back at the gate. "I'm not exactly sure what I'm doing." João gave a small nod, his tone unhurried. "João Antonio, but João is fine." He took a step closer, gaze moving from her hands to the fallen hinge. "I knew your uncle. He was quiet, but kind. I'm sorry he's gone." Mariana's expression shifted part apology, part sadness. She opened her mouth as if to explain something, then let the words fall away. "Would you like some help?" Joe asked, gently. She hesitated. He could see at the calculation behind her eyes, the habit of expecting a catch. But there was no catch here, only stillness and the sound of wind in the leaves. "That would be really kind," she said at last. "I thought I could fix it or maybe find someone in town, but I didn't expect it to feel this unfamiliar." Joan smiled softly, then stepped over the fence with quiet ease. He crouched to examine the gate, running his fingers lightly along the rusted edges. "It's not beyond saving," he murmured. "Just needs time. And patience." He stood again. "Let me fetch a few things. I'll be back shortly." Mariana nodded, watching him go. His movements were calm, deliberate, without rush, without pretense. As if every gesture had its place. When he returned with his tools, she was still standing there, hands wrapped loosely around her arms, eyes on the house. "It looks smaller than I remember," she said softly. João began working, not hurriedly. "First time back?" She nodded. "I used to come as a child. Uncle Edmund would meet me at the bus station with sweets in his pocket and always wear the same hat. I loved it here." She paused, the memory flickering in her voice. "But that was before..." He glanced up. "Before what?" "Before everything started being decided for me." Her words lingered in the air like dust in sunlight light, enough to be missed, heavy enough to feel. João said nothing. Instead, he returned to the hinge, wiping away years of rust. His presence was quiet, but steady. And in that silence, something softened in her not all at once, but enough. Mariana lowered herself onto the grass, hugging her knees, watching him work. There was something almost sacred in the way he moved, no need for small talk. No need to impress. And for the first time in a long while, she felt no need to explain who she was supposed to be. My great-uncle left me this property. My family wants me to sell it to a developer who plans to turn it all into a luxury residential complex. I came here to decide what to do. And what do you want to do? The simple question caught her off guard. It had been a long time since anyone asked her what she wanted. I don't know. They always decided for me where to study, what profession to choose, whom to marry. Whom to marry? I have a fiancé, Rodrigo. He's everything my family considers ideal. Rich, from a good family, with important connections. We'll get married at the end of the year. Joan noticed she spoke of marriage as a work duty. And do you love him? Mariana remained silent for a long time. Joan finished fixing the gate and was now inspecting the fence, separating the two properties. This fence is in terrible condition. Half the posts are rotten. If it's not fixed soon, it will completely collapse. You didn't answer my question. Why? Because I don't know the answer. Rodrigo is convenient, reliable. Our parents are partners in several businesses. It's logical. João shook his head, carefully examining the fence posts. A marriage of convenience. How sad that everything is arranged that way in your world. Love is a luxury few can afford. What kind of world is that? Mariana hesitated. She wasn't used to talking about personal matters, especially with strangers. But there was something about John that made her feel safe. My family owns many companies: hotels, construction firms, importers. I am the heiress of an empire I didn't always want to inherit. Joan stopped working and looked at her. So you're very rich, incredibly rich, and absolutely miserable. Money doesn't bring happiness. Money brings responsibility, expectations, obligations. Since childhood, I knew my life wasn't mine, but belonged to the family, business, traditions. Joan continued to inspect the fence, but listened to every word. Why did you come here alone? Where's the security, the assistant, and all that entourage rich people usually have? Mariana smiled for the first time since she arrived. I literally ran away, told my parents I was going to a spa in the countryside, got in the car, and came here. Nobody knows where I am. How old are you? 28. Old enough to make my own decisions, but my family still treats me like a child. Joan finished inspecting the fence and approached her. Listen, I don't know your family or your situation, but one thing I can tell you, no one has the right to choose your life for you. Not family, not money, not traditions. Easy to say when you don't have the pressure. Who said I don't have pressure? I have to maintain this farm, pay bills, take care of the animals. But I chose these responsibilities myself. Mariana looked at him for a while. You have a calmness I've never seen in anyone in my circle. Did you always want to be a farmer? Always. My father was a farmer. My grandfather was a farmer. But I had a choice. I studied management in the city, worked in a bank for 2 years, hated every minute of it, came back here and never regretted it once. Did you get married? Almost. I had a girlfriend in the city. She wanted me to sell the farm and stay there. She said life here was that of a simple country dweller, that I was wasting my potential. And what happened? We broke up. She married a lawyer and moved to Sao Paulo. I stayed here. I take care of the land I love. Mariana fell silent, pondering the story she had just heard. It was so unlike her own experience. Do you regret it? Never. Solitude is better than bad company. The conversation was interrupted by a cell phone ringing. Mariana looked at the device and grimaced. It's my mom. I have to answer. She walked away to talk on the phone. Joan heard parts of what was clearly a tense conversation. Mariana spoke in a defensive tone, trying to explain where she was and what she was doing. When she hung up, she was clearly upset. Problems? Joanne asked. As always, my mom found out I'm not at the spa, demanding I come back immediately. Says Rodrigo is worried that I have obligations and can't just disappear. And will you go back? I don't know. Part of me wants to stay here away from everything, but another part understands I can't run away from problems forever. Joan packed up his tools. Listen, your fence will take at least 3 days to get in order. If you want to stay and see what life is like here, I can help, but the decision is yours. Why would you do that? You don't even know me. Because everyone deserves a chance to find out what they truly want in life. And why does a neighbor help a neighbor? Mariana looked at her great-grandfather's house, then at Joan's farm, then at the phone, which rang again. 3 days. 3 days. Enough time to fix the fence and for you to think about what you want to do. She hung up the phone without answering. Okay, 3 days. Joanne smiled. Then let's start. First, you'll need suitable clothes. These won't last even one morning's work. Work? I'll be helping? Of course. How are you going to learn what life is like here if you don't work with your hands? Mariana looked at her perfectly manicured hands and sighed. Okay, but I have no idea how to do it. I'll teach you. Let's see if we can find something of your great-grandfather's clothes that fit you. They entered the house with the smell of mold and abandonment. Mariana walked through the rooms nostalgically, remembering her childhood holidays. In the kitchen, the old wooden table where she and her great-grandfather used to play dominoes was still there. In the bedroom, the iron bed where she slept when she visited him. He was a good man, Joanne said, watching her examine the belongings. Always helped me when I needed it. When my father died, Edmund became a second father to me, as he was in his last years. I had lost touch with him long ago. Lonely, but not bitter. He took good care of the farm. He had his own animals. He always asked about his niece who lived in the big city. Mariana felt a tightening in her chest. I should have visited him. He understood, said you had your own life, your own obligations, but spoke of you with warmth. In the closet, they found a few items that could fit Mariana with minor adjustments. Work pants, cotton shirts, leather boots. I'll go home and change too, Joan said. See you in an hour. Okay, and thank you for everything. We haven't even started yet. After Joan left, Mariana remained alone and walked through the house. Each room held memories. She remembered coming here for holidays as a child, how her great-grandfather Edmund taught her to milk cows, collect eggs from chickens, and make sweet condensed milk on the wood-burning stove. At that time, she was just a curious child who loved the freedom of the farm. There were no obligations, strict schedules, or expectations. She could run barefoot, climb trees, swim in the creek. When adolescence began, her parents decided that farm holidays were not suitable for a girl of her position. They sent her to expensive summer camps, then abroad for exchanges. Gradually, she lost touch with that part of her life. Now, dressed in her great-grandfather's simple clothes, Mariana felt a strange sense of home. The clothes smelled of lavender, the perfume he always used to ward off moths. When Joan returned, she was waiting for him on the porch, dressed like a true farmer. It suits you, he said with a smile. Ready for your first day of work? As ready as I can be for something I've never done in my life. They started with the basics. How to properly hold tools, how to measure the distance between posts, how to identify rotten wood. Joan was a patient teacher, carefully explaining each step. A fence is like the backbone of a property, he explained, showing how to install a new post. If it's not strong, everything else will collapse. Is that a metaphor? Maybe, or maybe it's just a fence? Mariana laughed. She hadn't truly laughed in a long time. They worked all morning, stopping only to drink water and wipe sweat. For someone accustomed to air conditioning and weekly manicures, physical labor was a challenge, but also refreshing. My hands are in terrible shape, she said, looking at the blisters forming. Blisters are medals of honor, Joanne replied. They show you've really worked. In my world, calloused hands are a sign of social failure. Your world seems very complicated. Yes, it is. They stopped for lunch in her great-grandfather's kitchen. Joanne brought simple ingredients: rice, beans, dried meat, flour. Mariana watched him cook with the same dexterity with which he fixed the fence. I learned this myself. My mother taught me before she died. She said a man who couldn't cook was half a man. Was your mother wise? Yes, she died when I was 16. Cancer. The disease took her in 2 years. Mariana noticed the sadness that quickly flashed in Joanne's eyes. I'm sorry. It's part of life. We are born, we live, we die. The important thing is what we do between those moments. You have a very calm view of life. I wasn't born that way. I learned it from my own mistakes. They ate in comfortable silence. The food was simple, but delicious. Mariana couldn't remember the last time she enjoyed a meal so much. It's delicious, she said. Food made with love is always delicious. Do you miss someone cooking for you? Joanne thought for a moment. Sometimes, but I realized it's better to be alone for the right reasons than in company for the wrong ones. Like my engagement. I don't want to judge your situation. I don't know all the details. You can judge. You're right. I'm marrying Rodrigo because it's expected of me, not because I love him. And does he love you? Rodrigo loves the idea of me. The heiress, the connection to my family, the social status. I don't know if he knows me enough to truly love me. How sad is the life I chose, or that was chosen for me? There's still time to change everything. It's not that simple. There's a lot involved: business, contracts, family expectations. There's always a way out, maybe not an easy one, but there is. Mariana's phone rang again. This time, it was Rodrigo. She hesitated, then answered, "Hello, Rodrigo. Mariana, where are you? Your mom said you disappeared. I'm worried." "I'm fine. I just needed some time." "Time for what? The wedding is in 4 months. We have 1,000 things to sort out. The steak tasting is tomorrow, remember?" "I forgot." "How could you forget? We've been planning this for months." Joan continued eating, but it was impossible not to hear the conversation. "Rodrigo, I'm staying here for a few more days. You can move the tasting here." "Where? Where are you?" "At my great-uncle's farm in Minas." "What farm? I thought you sold that thing." "I didn't sell it. And it's not a thing. It's a property that belonged to my family." "Mariana, you're acting very strange. Come home. We can talk about this." "I need to think, Rodrigo, alone." "Think about what?" "About us, about the wedding, about everything." There was a long pause on the other end of the line. "Mariana, I hope you're not having pre-wedding jitters. That's normal. You know, all brides get nervous." "It's not nervousness, Rodrigo. It's something else." "Look, I'll cancel my appointments and come pick you up. Where exactly are you?" "No, don't come. I'll be back in a few days." "Mariana, I need to hang up. We'll talk later." She hung up, her hands trembling. Joan finished eating and took the plates to the sink. "Difficult?" he asked. "Very. Rodrigo doesn't understand. For him, the wedding is just a social event to be organized. He doesn't see that I'm questioning everything." "Have you talked to him about your feelings?" "Rodrigo isn't very good with feelings. He prefers to talk about business, investments, career plans." "And do you have intimacy? I mean, do you really know each other?" Mariana blushed. "No, we don't. Rodrigo says he prefers to wait until the wedding. It's more romantic." Joan looked at her in surprise. "How long have you been together?" 2 years. "And never. Rodrigo is very traditional in that regard. He says he wants our first night to be special." Joan shook his head. "I'm sorry, but that's not tradition. That's a lack of passion." "You think so?" "I'm sure when a man truly loves a woman, he can't go 2 years without physically showing his love." Mariana remained silent, considering Joan's words. Maybe he just respects you? Or maybe he doesn't feel for you what he should. And what should he feel? Joan looked her directly in the eyes. Desire, passion, the urge to be with you every moment, the urge to kiss you, to touch you, to make you feel like the most desired woman in the world. The air between them filled with tension. Mariana felt her heart beat faster. "And you speak as if you know what you're talking about." "I do. I've loved that way." "The girl who wanted me to sell the farm?" "No, that was another woman." "What happened?" Joan hesitated. She was married, unhappy in her marriage, but she didn't dare leave her husband. "We broke up before the situation became unbearable." "Did you love her?" "Very much. More than I thought I was capable of loving anyone." "What was she like?" "When we were together, everything else disappeared. Nothing existed but the two of us." Mariana felt a pang of envy, never having experienced anything like it with anyone. "Do you miss it?" "I miss that intensity, that feeling of life she gave me." "And why don't you look for someone?" "Because I don't want to settle for less. I prefer to be alone than with someone who doesn't make me feel that, even if it means being alone forever." Nevertheless, they returned to work on the fence, but the conversation had changed something between them. Mariana found herself watching Joan's hands as he worked, how the muscles in his arms moved as he lifted the posts. "Can I ask you something?" she said after a while. "Of course. Do you find me attractive?" Joan stopped working and looked at her. "Why do you ask?" "Because in 2 years of our relationship, Rodrigo never once told me he found me beautiful, desirable, attractive." "That's impossible, right?" "He says I'm elegant, refined, well-mannered, but he never says I'm beautiful." Joan dropped his tool and walked over to her. "Mariana, you are beautiful. Any man who doesn't see that is blind." "Even in these clothes?" she asked, pointing to her work clothes. "Especially in these. You look real, genuine." Rodrigo always says, "I need to take better care of myself, wear more makeup, choose more sophisticated clothes." Rodrigo is an idiot. "Mariana, you don't even know him." "I don't need to." "Any man who doesn't see your natural beauty is an idiot." They looked at each other for a long time. Mariana felt something she had never experienced before. Warmth in her stomach, a desire to get closer to Juan. I think we'd better get back to work, she said, breaking the moment. Ah, I think so. They worked until the end of the day. As the sun began to set, they had fixed most of the fence, and Mariana was proud of what they had done together. We'll finish tomorrow, Joan said, putting away his tools. You did pretty well for someone who's never done this before. I had a good teacher. Do you want to have dinner at my place? I can cook something at home. Mariana hesitated. She knew she was stepping into dangerous territory, but she couldn't resist. Okay. Joan's house was simple but cozy. The wooden furniture, made by himself, family photos adorned the walls, a fireplace warmed the room. It was completely different from the minimalist and cold apartment she shared with Rodrigo. Your house is beautiful, she said, examining the details. Thank you. I made most of the furniture myself. Did you really make this table? This table, the chairs, the cabinet. My father taught me carpentry when I was a child. You're very talented. I like to work with my hands. There's something therapeutic about it, creating something from scratch. Juan prepared a simple dinner, fried fish, rice, salad from the garden. They ate on the porch, watching the stars begin to appear in the sky. In the city, I never see stars, Mariana said. There's too much light pollution there. Here, you can see the Milky Way. Do you want me to show you? They went into the garden. Juan pointed to the sky, showing the constellations. He stood close enough for Mariana to feel the warmth of his body. See that whitish band? That's the Milky Way. It's beautiful. I've never noticed it before. When you live in the city, you lose touch with these simple things, with the sky, the earth, the cycles of nature, with what's truly important. They just stood there, watching the stars. Mariana felt a peace she hadn't felt in years. Joan, can I ask a personal question? Of course. Do you regret staying here, not pursuing a career in the city? Never. This is my life. I wouldn't trade it for anything. Even if it's lonely here, I prefer loneliness here than the crowd there. What if the right person comes along, someone who loves this place as much as you do? Joan looked at her. Then it will be perfect. A tense silence followed. Mariana felt he wanted to say something else, but held back. I think I'd better go, she said. We still have work tomorrow. I'll walk you home. They walked together in the darkness, illuminated only by moonlight. When they reached the door, Mariana turned to say goodbye. Thank you for the help, for the food, for the company. It's been a long time since I felt so peaceful. And I'm grateful. It's been a long time since I had such a good conversation. They looked at each other for a moment. Mariana felt Juan was about to kiss her, but he stepped back. Good night, Mariana. Good night, Juan. She entered the house with a pounding heart. For the first time in her life, she felt a real desire for a man, and for the first time, she seriously considered whether to marry Rodrigo. The second day began early. Mariana woke up to the singing of birds and realized she had slept better than in months. She put on her work clothes and went to look for Joan, who was already inspecting the fence. Did you sleep well? He asked, not looking at her. Very well, and you too. But there was something different about his demeanor. He was more distant, more formal. Mariana realized he was holding back, maintaining a safe distance. In the morning, they worked with less talk than the day before. Joan focused on the work as if he wanted to finish it as quickly as possible. Is something wrong? Mariana asked. Finally. No, why? You're different today. Joan stopped working and looked at her. Mariana, you have a fiancé. You're getting married in 4 months. I can't let this continue. What is this? Do you know? I don't know. Explain. Joan sighed and dropped his tools. What's happening between us? This attraction, this connection is wrong. Why wrong? Because you're engaged to another man. To a man who doesn't truly love me. But you're still engaged. Mariana walked up to him. What if I weren't? But you are. What if I broke off the engagement? Joan looked at her with such intensity. Would you do that? I don't know, maybe. I'm confused. Mariana, I can't be responsible for you ruining your life. Perhaps it's not ruin. Perhaps it's salvation. You barely know me. I know enough to realize that in 2 days you made me feel more alive than Rodrigo has in 2 years. Joan moved closer to her, and, for a moment, Mariana thought he would kiss her, but he stepped back again. Let's finish the fence. Then you'll go back to your life, and I to mine. Is that what you want? It's what has to be. They returned to work in tense silence. Mariana felt the disappointment of rejection, but also admired Joan's honesty. He was trying to do the right thing, even if it meant sacrificing his own feelings. In the middle of the day, their work was interrupted by the arrival of a luxury car. Mariana immediately recognized Rodrigo's BMW. Damn, she muttered. Problem? Joanne asked. Rodrigo, he came for me. Rodrigo got out of the car impeccably dressed, in a custom-made suit and Italian shoes. He looked completely out of place in the countryside. Mariana, I finally found you, he said, approaching. I was worried. Hi, Rodrigo. I told you I was fine. Well, look at the state you're in. Rodrigo surveyed her dirty work clothes, calloused hands, disheveled hair. What happened to you? I'm working. Working? Doing what? Fixing the fence. Rodrigo looked at João as if noticing him for the first time. And who is this? João Antonio, my neighbor. João walked over and extended his hand. Nice to meet you. Rodrigo hesitated before shaking his hand, clearly uncomfortable with João's rural appearance. Rodrigo Mendez, Mariana's fiancé. I know, she told me about you. I hope well, Rodrigo said, forcing a smile. Mariana, I need to talk to you alone. Anything you want to say, you can say in front of Joan. Mariana, please, this is important. Joan felt the tension in the air. I'll finish the work alone. You two talk calmly. No, Joan, you don't have to leave. It's okay, we'll talk later. Joan walked away, but didn't leave entirely. He stayed close enough to hear if Mariana needed help. Mariana, what is all this? Rodrigo asked, gesturing at the fence, the tools, the dirty clothes. I'm fixing up the property. Why? I thought we were going to sell it. We're not selling anything. This property belonged to my family. It belonged in the past. Now it's just a plot of land in the middle of nowhere that costs us money. It doesn't cost money, Rodrigo. And it's not just a plot, it's my history. Mariana, you're acting very strange. First, you disappear without warning, then you play farmer. I'm not playing, I'm finding out who I am. You know perfectly well who you are. You're my fiancée, the heiress of a business empire, a refined and educated woman. Perhaps I'm more than that. Of course, but that doesn't mean you need to do physical labor. And what's wrong with physical labor? Mariana, you were raised for bigger things. You have responsibilities, obligations. What obligations? To me, to your family, to our future together. Our future, which you planned without consulting me. We planned together. You planned, I just agreed. Rodrigo sighed, clearly losing patience. Okay, you've had your existential crisis. Now, let's go home. We have the steak tasting tomorrow, the dress fitting on Friday, and 1,000 other things to sort out. What if I don't want to sort out those things? What do you mean? What if I don't want to get married, Rodrigo? Rodrigo paused for a moment, processing what she said. Are you serious? Really, Mariana, these are just pre-wedding nerves. Everyone goes through this. It's not nerves, it's certainty. Certainty about what? About me not loving you. The words came out faster than Mariana wanted. Rodrigo paled. Of course, you love me. We've been together for 2 years. 2 years, during which you never once said you loved me. Never truly touched me. Never made me feel desired. I respect you. Respect isn't love. Mariana, you're confused. This life here, this place is messing with your head. Or maybe it's showing me the truth. What truth? That I can be happy, that I can have a different life, not the one that was planned for me. Rodrigo looked around as if searching for something that could explain the change in Mariana. It's because of him, isn't it? He said, gesturing in the direction Joan had gone. Because of whom? Because of that farmer. Are you having an affair with him? I'm not having any affair. Then why are you acting this way? Because he made me realize what it means not to pretend to be someone I'm not. And who are you, Mariana? This farmer woman who wears dirty clothes and does hard labor. Maybe, or maybe I'm someone I'm still discovering. That's ridiculous. You're the heiress of an empire. You have responsibilities. I didn't ask to inherit this empire, but I did. And with inheritance comes responsibility. According to whom? According to common sense. According to your family, according to me, and according to my feelings. Feelings pass, obligations remain. Mariana looked at Rodrigo and realized she had never truly seen him before. He was handsome, well-dressed, educated, rich, everything her family considered ideal for her. But looking at him now, she felt absolutely nothing. Rodrigo, do you love me? Of course, I love you. Why? How? Why? Because I love you. What do you see in me? Rodrigo hesitated. You're perfect for me. You have the right education, the right family, the right connections. That's not love, that's convenience. Love is convenience. Love is compatibility. Love is building something together. It's a partnership. Love is passion. It's desire. It's wanting to be with a person every moment. Who told you that? No one had to tell me. I felt it. I felt it. When Mariana fell silent, it was impossible to say she was experiencing it. Towards Joan? Rodrigo said, noticing her silence. Towards that farmer? Rodrigo added, I don't believe it. You're breaking off our engagement because of some country bumpkin you've known for only 2 days. I'm not breaking it off because of him. I'm breaking it off because of myself. Mariana, you're making the biggest mistake of your life. Maybe I'm finally doing something right. And your parents? What do you think they'll say? They'll have to accept it. And the business partnership between our families? They'll have to find other ways to do business. Mariana, please, think about what you're doing. I am thinking for the first time in my life. I am really thinking. Rodrigo remained silent for a long time. Then his expression changed. It became colder, more calculating. Okay, if that's what you want, we'll solve this another way. How? You can't just cancel the wedding. There are signed contracts, obligations undertaken. What contracts? Marriage contracts. An agreement between families. If you cancel the wedding, you'll have to pay heavy penalties. What penalties? 50 million reais for damages to the family business. Mariana was shocked. 50 million? You signed the documents, Mariana? I don't remember. I thought they were just formalities. No, they were legal contracts. If you break the agreement, you'll have to pay. I don't have 50 million. You do. Your inheritance is worth much more. So, I'll be poor. You'll be left with much less money, especially if your actions harm the family business. Mariana felt her world crumble. She had completely forgotten about the contracts she signed 2 years ago. Back then, she trusted Rodrigo and her parents, who said it was just paperwork for the wedding. You're blackmailing me. I'm reminding you of the consequences of your actions. That's blackmail. That's reality. You belong to a world of duties and obligations. You can't just run away because of an identity crisis. What if I pay? If you agree to lose the money, then you'll be poor and alone, because that farmer won't be able to provide you with the lifestyle you're used to. Maybe I don't need that lifestyle. Mariana, you've never lived without money. You have no idea what that's like. I can learn. At 28, after a lifetime of luxury, I can try. And if it doesn't work out, if you can't adapt, who will you go back to? I don't know, but I prefer to take the risk than live an unhappy life. Mariana, please be reasonable. I'm being reasonable for the first time in my life. You're in love with someone, aren't you? Perhaps. With whom? With someone who makes me feel alive. Who is he? Someone you would never approve of? Mariana, don't do this to us. I'm not doing anything to you. I'm doing something for myself. You'll regret it. Maybe, but I prefer to regret what I did than what I didn't do. Mom, I need to hang up. I'll stay here for a few more days to think. You can't just disappear. But I'm not disappearing. I'm finding myself. Mariana, if you don't come home in 3 days, we'll block your credit card and accounts. Okay, you don't have your own money. I'll find it. How? By working. Working what? I don't know yet, but I'll find out. Mariana, you're stubborn. I'm brave. That's not bravery. That's recklessness. Mom, I have to go. We'll talk later. Mariana, don't hang up. Mariana hung up and froze for a moment, taking a deep breath. How did it go? Joan asked. As expected. My family is furious. And you? I'm free for the first time in my life. And now what? Now I need to figure out what to do with this freedom. Any ideas? A few. First, I'll renovate my great-grandfather's house. Then I'll see if I can make this property fruitful. Do you have experience? No, but I can learn. It will be difficult, I know. But I prefer difficulties I choose myself over conveniences imposed on me and money. I'll have to manage myself. Perhaps I'll sell some jewelry, some personal investments I have. And how long will that last? I don't know, maybe 2 or 3 years if I'm careful. And then I'll have to work for real. Doing what? I don't know yet, but I'll find out. Joan looked at her for a while. Mariana, are you sure about what you're doing? For the first time in my life, I'm absolutely sure, even knowing I'll be poor. I won't be poor. I'll have less money. That's different. How so? Poor is someone who doesn't have what they need. I'll have everything I need, this property, this house, this land. And that will be enough. It should be enough. Mariana, can I help you, for example, teach you how to work the land, take care of animals, make everything work? Would you do that? Of course, that's what neighbors are for, even if I can't pay. A neighbor doesn't charge a neighbor. João, you barely know me. Why do you want to help? João hesitated. Why? Because I believe in you. I believe you can do it, even if you're a spoiled heiress who's never worked in her life. You're not spoiled, you're brave. Few would dare to leave everything behind and start over. Either I'm very brave or very foolish. Sometimes they're the same thing. Mariana, thank you for everything, for helping with the fence, for showing me there's another life, for believing in me. Nothing to thank for. There is. You changed my life in 3 days. You changed your life. I was just here. You were here at the right moment. Maybe the right moment was inevitable. What do you mean? Maybe you always knew that one day you'd have to make this choice. I just showed up when you were ready. You think I was ready? I do. Otherwise, you wouldn't have come here alone, wouldn't have stayed, wouldn't have faced Rodrigo and his family. Maybe you're right. Mariana, can I ask you something? Oh, of course. What do you feel for me? The question caught her off guard. Why do you ask? I need to know if I'm deceiving myself. Deceiving myself about what? That there's something between us. Mariana was silent for a while. There's something between us. What? An attraction. A connection I've never felt before. Love? I don't know. Perhaps it's too early to know, but it could be if you feel the same way. I've felt it from the moment I saw you, even being a complicated heiress. Especially because you're a complicated heiress who dared to change her life. João, I don't know how this will work. I don't know either, but I want to try, even knowing it will be difficult, especially because it will be difficult. Why? Because what's worth it is never easy. Mariana walked up to him. Joan, are you sure about what you're doing? For the first time in many years, I'm absolutely sure. Even knowing I know nothing about life here, I can learn. Even knowing I might not get used to it, I can help, even if I know my family will hate you. I'm not marrying your family. Who will you marry then, if everything works out with you? Are you proposing to me? I'm saying I want to try to build something with you. What exactly? A life, a family, a future here, on our land, your land. But I want to share it with you. Mariana felt her heart beat faster. Joan, we barely know each other. We know each other enough to know there's something special between us. What if it doesn't work out? What if it does? Are you willing to take the risk? I am. Mariana looked around her. Great-grandfather's land, the house that needed renovation, the land that needed cultivation. Then she looked at Joan with his calloused hands, honest eyes, and generous heart. I am ready. Then let's try. Let's! Joan walked up to her and finally kissed her. It was a gentle kiss, full of promises and possibilities. Mariana felt as if she was waking up from a long sleep. When they broke apart, she was smiling. Joan, I think I've fallen in love with you. I think I'm in love with you too. Even knowing I can't do anything, I can learn anything I want. And if I can't, will we learn together? Joan, are you sure you want a life with me? Absolutely sure, even knowing you'll have to teach me everything from scratch. Especially because of that, I can teach you my way. How? With love, patience, care. That's what Rodrigo never had. So, he missed the chance to know the amazing woman you are. Do you think I'm amazing? I think you're brave, determined, beautiful, intelligent, even without makeup and in dirty clothes. Especially that way, you become even more beautiful when you're yourself. Joan, I think it will take me a long time to get used to this. To what? To someone loving me for who I am, not for who I should be. Then we'll have all the time in the world. Where does that certainty come from? Because for the first time in my life, I've met a person worth waiting for. And if my family creates problems, we'll deal with them together. And if the money runs out, we'll work together. And if I can't get used to life here, we'll find out together. You have an answer for everything. I have an answer for everything. Together, together, together. They embraced, watching the sun set over the land that had now become the beginning of a new life for both of them. 6 months later, Mariana was in the kitchen of the renovated house, preparing dinner. Her hands, now calloused from work, skillfully stirred the beans on the wood-burning stove that Joan had fixed. The land had changed. With money from the sale of some jewelry and investments, Mariana was able to renovate the house and start a small business producing organic products. Joan taught her how to plant, take care of animals, make cheeses, and homemade sweets. It wasn't easy. There were moments of despair, longing for the comforts of her old life, but Joan was always patient and caring, helping her overcome difficulties. Her family had completely cut ties with her. She paid the penalty for the marriage contract and was left with much less money than before, but she realized that happiness didn't require so much. Rodrigo married a distant relative, maintaining ties between the families. Mariana received a wedding invitation and threw it away without opening it. "Smells good," Joan said, entering the kitchen and hugging her from behind. "Beans with sausage. Your recipe. Our recipe. You improved it," added Love. "That changes everything." "Joan, what do you regret? Getting involved with a complicated heiress every day? Seriously? Seriously. I regret not doing it sooner. Fool. A lovesick fool." "Me too. Mariana, can I ask something?" "Of course. Do you regret leaving everything behind?" "Sometimes I miss the ease of my old life, but I don't regret it." "Why?" "Because now I'm truly happy. For the first time in my life, I'm truly happy, even being poor. We're not poor. We have a home, land, food on the table, love in our hearts." You've changed a lot." "Changed for the better." "Definitely for the better." "Juan, I need to tell you something." "What?" "I'm pregnant." Juan paused for a moment, processing what he heard. "I'm pregnant." "I'm pregnant. Are you sure?" "Absolutely sure." "Since when?" 2 months. "Why didn't you tell me sooner?" "I wanted to be sure and tell you properly." "And how is that properly?" "Like this, in our kitchen, cooking our food, living our life." "Mariana, you made me the happiest man in the world. Even knowing our life will become even more complicated. Especially because of that, we'll have a family. We'll have our child. We'll grow up here, on this land. We'll grow up free, without pressure, without imposed obligations. We'll grow up in love, in great love. Mariana, will you marry me?" "Now, you're asking me to marry you. Now that we're going to have a child,